Today, we're going to tackle one of the biggest challenges that HR executives face, and that is how do they help a new leader win the trust fast instead of stumbling through their first 90 days? And we're going to do it with Dr. Jeff Kaplan. He's a leadership coach, executive coach of the year, who's guided countless executives through high stakes transitions. It's all about new leader assimilation. We're going to cover questions that reveal team dynamics, stories of breakthroughs to drive connections, even sales. Jeff, welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, Raj. Great to be here.
I'm excited about this topic because when you're a new leader, there's a lot of tension, anxiety, nervousness on everybody's part, not just the leader's part, but as well as the team that you're going to be leading. So let's start with the first thing. What is the definition of new leader assimilation?
First of all, to add to that list, there's also a lot of misassumptions, right? So at its core, new leader assimilation is a process by which the leader and the team get to know each other better, faster. So what it looks like is generally either a 1 day or 2 half-day retreats that are designed around the leader first introducing themselves to the team, then a facilitator, which could either be an internal HR person or an external person like myself, facilitating with the team, asking lots of questions and hearing what they want to know, for example, about the leader, and then bringing the leader back into the room and then having a conversation. And the whole purpose is to align and get clear on expectations, right? And also to come up with a set of agreements on how to best communicate and collaborate. And again, getting to know each other.
When you think about the first 90 days that a leader takes their role, what are some of the most common mistakes that you see happen during this new leader assimilation process?
Yeah, first of all, the thing that comes to mind when you say the first 90 days is the book, The First 90 Days by Michael Watkins, right? So he's a Harvard professor. It is a go-to reading, right? So anybody who's a new leader and you're looking for one book to read, at least read chapters 1, 2, and 3 for the first 90 days, right? A lot of the mistakes that folks make when they come into a new leadership role is they think that success in that role is going to use the same skills and abilities that you showed in your last role. And yeah, you'll be successful, right? The logic goes, I'm here because I'm the person that deserves to be here, right? And so rather than trying to think about what do I not know, what assumptions am I making, that's tends to be a problem. Another problem that you see is they try to change too quickly or they try to change too slowly, right? So you hear a lot about when you first come in, don't make too many bold moves, like gather information and then kind of form relationships, get to know about people and the culture. And then you start needing to make some decisions, right? And if you wait too long, then you sort of lose your window of opportunity. But if you do it too short, what happens I see a lot is people come in because they're the person that's needed, but they're not the person that's wanted. So they fail to adjust into the culture and really build a strong relationship with the team.
That's interesting. Can you describe to me what a new leader assimilation playbook should contain?
Yeah, so I'll give you one way to do it, right? Imagine that you're doing 1 day retreat and the team's there, the leader's there, the leader kicks it off, says, look, this is important. Here's why we're doing this. And then to be honest, leader leaves, the facilitator's there and says, okay, folks, let's, whether we're breaking up into groups, but bottom line is the team is answering questions like, what do you already know about this person? And now that's based on whatever, research they did before the person got there or the person's first few weeks there. What do you want to know about this person? What do you want them to know about you? What's working well? What are some of the issues that need to be addressed now? How should we keep you informed? How should they keep you informed? What do they need to know about us, the team, as well as the individuals of the team? So you're gathering all this juicy information about what people are thinking, but they're not saying, right? And then maybe they prioritize what are the top 5 things that they want the leader to know and questions they have for the leader. And then the leader comes back and then there's a discussion, right? So the leader is answering questions. The leader has questions themselves for the group, right? And this is like, imagine a first year crunched into a day, but minus all the assumptions that you make along the way. and the mistakes that go with it. It's a really powerful way of doing some team building and really getting clear about other and what's needed and getting to know each other.
So what I'm hearing from you is that one of the key things is closing the gaps that you might have in just everybody's understanding. You might have a social media sleuth on your team who just wants to go find out everything that the executives ever talked about, posted, whatever they discussed in other podcasts that they might have been on. And then so they've got some mindset already created about, okay, this is what I'm getting into with this particular leader. But that may be very different than the way the leader actually is in person. And so is that part of the process, is to understand where everybody is and then help close the gaps?
Yeah, so think about it, right? Imagine this, you're a new leader coming in, whether it's leading a department or the CEO of an organization, and you have this team, right? So there was somebody maybe before you, they're gone, right? So the team's either happy or not happy, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's not everybody on the team. Maybe there's three people that got to make all the calls and decisions, and
Yeah.
maybe that's why things weren't working out so well. And so you've got this weird stuff happening already before you get there, right? And now you're there and you show up and people are like watching you and what do you say and how do you say it? And so you're coming in and you're trying to think, oh, what's my big speech that I'm going to say, right? Without a new leader assimilation, everybody is making it up, right? You're making up what you think they need to hear. You're making up what you think you should say. You're making up what you think maybe would be helpful to get from them. But they've been living it. Now, rather than doing all that craziness, imagine that you've been there for a short time before the cement dries and becomes concrete, before that, and you really get to know each other. What are your concerns? What do you know? What do you think you know about me? What do you want to know about me? What should I know about you? How would you describe the culture so far? What do you think needs to change? Like the person that just left, if you had a wish list of things that they did before they left, what would it be? What's most important? You can begin to think, Raj, how having this kind of discussion can be really helpful in helping to make sure that leader and that department or that organization is successful.
These are really solid questions that'll help a leader figure out the real dynamics of the team, because they need to get to know that really fast so they can start affecting the change that they've been hired to actually make. Share with me some additional questions that can help people understand a deeper unresolved conflict or tension that may be looming inside a company that the executive may not be aware of when they first join.
That's a great question. Leader the
Yeah.
other day,
Yeah.
I came in thinking one thing.
That's
So
right. Once you start moving the rocks and you seeing what's there.
exactly. Yeah, you've been there.
Yeah.
So what needs to change? What needs to stay what needs to stay but needs to be modified in some way? What needs to, right? What are some of the communication patterns that work or don't work? I said before, like, how would you describe the culture, right? How is success rewarded? Right? What is everyone's version of success? Can we start there? Like the leader, what do you, because the leader was interviewed, whether it was by a board
Mhm.
or by some other folks, right? If
Mhm.
they're a leader of a division, then the, say, CEO or whatever. So they were brought in with this understanding, right? And so the team would love to know, what are you thinking you're here to do?
Yeah.
Right? And then how does that resonate with
I
everyone?
think these are outstanding questions, and I think they'll really help people get a better feel for the lay of the land as they get into their role. Let's talk about psychological safety, because when you ask some of these questions, especially as a new leader who people don't know, they don't feel that level of trust yet. Let's talk about how you create that psychological safety that allows people to share. And then at the same time, when you ask questions and you get guarded or surface level answers, what's your next move?
That is why we kick out the leader, right?
In the new leader assimilation
Uh,
session,
Bye,
you kick out the leader and you have the
bye,
team in there.
bye,
Yeah.
Sam. See you later.
Uh-huh.
We'll bring you back in the afternoon after lunch. Yeah, look, there's two ways to do it, right? So the question that you asked is the same thing. The answer is the same thing about doing it at 360, right? So I'm saying I'm coaching somebody and I'm
Yeah.
interviewing these 8 people that report to either right, that either they report to, the leader reports to, or their direct reports and their peers, right? So why do 360s work? The 360s work because the coachee, the leader, is not in the room. So I, as the facilitator, as the coach, get to build trust quickly, right? You will completely fail as an executive coach or as a consultant if you're not able to build trust quickly with folks, right? And so one of the ways I do that is say my training was as a psychologist, right? So I live and breathe ethics. Confidentiality is really important, right? You have the leader kick it off by saying, look, please be honest. But then the leader is gone. The answer to all these questions is gathered as a collective. It's my job to pull that together and identify themes, not here's what everybody said, but here are the themes. And then that begins a discussion. What I've noticed, Raj, whether it's a new leader assimilation or whether it's a 360, once somebody has voiced to an objective, safe third party what they're thinking, they find it so much easier to actually voice that to the leader themselves. Now, the goal isn't to necessarily, we're not trying to trick anybody, say it to me, and then you're going to say it to them. The goal is truly to get the information there so that we can do something with it. And so when the leader comes back, then we're all looking at, okay, wow, so this is what people are saying. Leader, how do you respond?
These are great frameworks to be able to help people get through that or have an effective new leader assimilation session. And so let's talk about some specific examples, stories from the field, let's say. Can you tell me about a time when a leader mishandled their first team meeting and what happened and how did you help them course correct?
What one way that a leader can mishandle the first team meeting, they fail to introduce themselves. They fail to learn about the as people, as human beings, and they go right to the business. I want you to come with everything that I need to know about what's happening in your area. So now it becomes like a weird competition performance where I don't know you yet. I don't even know what your values are. And I'm now going to, in front of my peers, present to you my business that I'm in charge of. Imagine that, right? And so you get this weird continuum of people trying to impress the new boss, maybe not be embarrassed by their peers, maybe do one up with their peers. You have done nothing to build culture and trust. Instead, you've done the opposite. That actually begins to build this weird healthy competition. There is such a thing as healthy competition. So I would say for that leader, instead of focusing first on the business, I'm not saying that the second half of a longer meeting should not talk about the business. I think it should or could for sure, but it should really be about getting to know each other.
That's important. And I think that's something that a lot of times people will forget, especially as they just want to dive in and start doing the work, right? So they got to take that step back and pause.
It's like a bunch of people watching a football game and someone turns the TV off. It's like this weird, uncomfortable, right? And so,
Mm.
yeah, it's the same thing, right?
Let's talk about another example. So, can you give me an example of a before and after transformation that you saw from a leader who really embraced the assimilation process and it just turned out to be the best thing for them?
I can share with you actually my own experience. I just had a call earlier today with two of my employees. The one has been with us for a year. We did a lot on the front end about co-creating a highly effective working alliance. It was both about getting to know each other as well as about learning best ways to communicate and collaborate, prioritizing what's important. This person said recently that she prays in gratitude that she's working with us. Believe me, I am so fortunate that we have this person. It's not always been that way. Whenever there's some sort of misunderstanding, it's really easy to work it through because there is psychological safety, because we know that each other is coming from a good place, a good intent. Something that I, in the recent TEDx talk, is to assume good intent. When you do a new leader assimilation or focus on the people first in your first team meeting, it helps you develop that sense of trust, then leads to assuming good intent versus only being about the business, which could then you start making up stories about somebody being out to get you, or you just get really mad, the ego jumps in, and it can really go downhill from there.
So I think all of that is really important. It seems to me from this conversation that every new executive should go through some sort of new leader assimilation just because it's going to really pave the road going forward. Let's talk about ways that an executive coaching partnership can actually help them get there a lot faster. So, If you're an HR leader, you want that assimilation to stick. You want it to be a process that is going to enable their team to get those productivity gains that they're envisioning. That's why they brought the leader in the first place. So, what are the signs that an HR leader should look for when selecting a coach that's going to match well with their team or new leader?
One, have they done this before? So, what's their experience in the, maybe this is less important, but in the industry, right? Who is this coach? So, looking at credentials shows one thing, but who is this person? What's important to them? What's their vision? What's driving them and what they do? One of the very first kind of podcasts we did years ago, when we weren't calling it podcast, I did this whole video about how to select a coach. And in the 3 decades I've been doing this, never have I said what I'm saying now, which is, who is the person, the coach that you're looking to hire? Who are they? What are their values? What drives them? Why do they do what they do? What do they love about? So as an HR person, I would ask, why do you do what you do? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? Who's your ideal client? What successes have you had that you're proud of? Why are you proud of it? And just get to know about how they operate, because figuring out how to do certain exercises is easy once you start with somebody who's got a solid core.
I think the executive coaching follow-up to a new leader assimilation session would be a great add-on. And I know that you and I have done an executive coaching demo. We'll put a link into the article for that. It is one of the most widely watched videos for executive coaching at the time of our recording this particular podcast. That other session has been viewed over 13,000 times by people all over the world in just the last couple of years. So it's a great session to help people understand actually your coaching style as well. So I encourage that to. Let's talk about another thing, and that is timing. So when you think about the term new leader assimilation, you presume that that happens day one when the executive starts. But that may not always be possible. What's a good timeline? And if somebody passes that timeline, should they still consider doing it? Tell me about the timing for this.
Yeah. So first of all, day one is onboarding or orientation, right?
Correct.
One
Yes.
back.
So let's get
Exactly.
past that stage. But then when is the ideal time for you to do a new leader assimilation
So
session?
yeah, before the concrete settles, right? Within the first few weeks would make sense. If the team is new leader assimilation, if I could if I have our first choice is to do it pretty quickly within the first few weeks that someone's there, because that doesn't matter. But remember that part of new leader assimilation is a little bit of team building element to it. If somebody misses the window and it's been months, maybe even 6 months, which almost hurts me to think about, because think of how many assumptions that people are operating from, many of them incorrect in that time span. But let's say that's the case, right? And so the new leader, understandably, wants to do like a retreat for their team. What wouldn't make sense if the team is still in flux? You don't want to build the container that's going to be broken the next day, right? So a new leader comes in, and it's very possible and often happens where there needs to be some shuffling of people on the team. Maybe the team needs to expand. Maybe there's some dead weight, people that are just not holding their own, that need to be repositioned or exited. You wait till that's finalized. When you also talked about how to make it stick, it makes a ton of sense, whether it's 30 days or within 3 months to the new leader assimilation, to circle back, even if it's just 90 minutes or 2 hours virtual call, to check in and see how it's going. You pull back up the norms that were created, the agreement that were agreed upon, and the expectations that people discussed, and then check against that and see how the group is doing.
That's a real solid playbook, and I love that this should be able to help a lot of people. What we're going to do next is a rapid fire list of questions
Okay.
for new leader assimilation. All right. So the first one is, what's one assimilation question that every leader should ask on day one?
What do you want to know about me?
I love that one because it goes right to the heart of building a connection with people. What is the biggest myth about the new leader assimilation process?
Wow. The biggest myth about the the new leader assimilation process, I don't know if it's a myth much as, I would say can I say the biggest mistake?
Mistake is good too.
So the biggest mistake is not doing it. The second biggest mistake is doing it without rules that everybody agrees to and abides by.
It's not something you just wing.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Next question. What's the fastest way for a leader to earn trust with a skeptical team?
Call out the skeptic.
Describe that to me.
So
What does that
listen,
look like?
I 2 weeks ago, there was no indication that your leadership was going to a lot's happened in 2 weeks, and here I am. And as everybody here knows, I came from whatever. And so if I'm you, I'm probably really skeptical of myself, of who is this person and what are they really doing here. And so first of all, I just want to acknowledge that I get you skeptic and I appreciate it, recognize it. Let's work it through. So feel free to ask me any questions. And in addition to this group meeting, I'm going to be meeting with you one on one. And what I'd like you to bring to that meeting are hopes, expectations, and fears that you have about me leading this team. And I'll do the same. I'll bring my hopes and expectations and my concerns. And then let's just have an honest conversation.
What I hear when you say this is you're focused a lot on the emotional response people are feeling. And I like that you acknowledged that in that phrasing, the fears that people may have. So, very
The
important.
It's the elephant that's in the room, and if you don't call the elephant in the room, it's really weird to have a productive meeting where in the corner is this 1,000-pound elephant that's just making a lot of noise.
Let's say, next question. Let's say you're doing your assimilation session. Is there something that would give you a red flag that either the assimilation is going to go really slow or that it's failing and you need to make a course correction?
Yeah. Like the team has, whether covertly, conspired to, things are fine, things are great. We're glad this person's here. Yeah, all is good. No problems. Yep. Yeah, we're good. Thank you.
And that just sounds very made up, right?
Yeah, I would be like, okay, so things are perfect. I think that's BS. That's what I would say. Like I would
Yeah,
say now, I wouldn't say it that way because then they would just shun me out as well.
yeah.
It's so important to come up with a set of guidelines at the beginning about, for example, honesty, confidentiality. But it's possible that the majority of the group wants to speak, but maybe there's been one or two team members who have had a lot of authority, maybe that they, I don't know, are related to somebody on the board or something, right? And so people are just too afraid to speak up. You might say, what would you do in that situation? I might do individual surveys instead and ask people or have one-on-one individual conversations. That would be another way to gather data and be able to collect it to try to ensure success and then package it in a way that doesn't identify anyone and share it with the leader.
Jeff, I think this has been really valuable, and I really appreciate the fact that we talked about not just doing one to do new leader assimilation, but also to consider the follow-up that needs to happen. Because otherwise, it's almost like doing one sales coaching session for a sales team without any kind of follow-up on the back end of that. To that end, your new leader assimilation session does set the stage for how that success is going to play out. So thanks. Are there any other final thoughts that people should think about as they explore coaching opportunities to help their new leaders assimilate?
Yeah, I'll just get back to something that came up earlier. Assume good intent.
Mm.
People are generally good people and they want what's best, right? So even when things don't look good, let's start with assuming good intent.
I think that's a wonderful place to be in your heart. As a business leader, too, HR executives have a very tough job because they are responsible for making sure that team functions properly, that they've got the right people in the right seats on the bus, so to speak, the Jim Collins reference, from good to great. And the better that they can make their teams work together, the better the company's going to be. So thank you for sharing one way to get there. And I'd encourage everybody to like and subscribe the videos that we have on this channel to learn more about how you can improve your executive coaching capabilities. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Raj.